15 ways intelligent people deal with difficult and toxic people. You know that feeling when someone walks into the room and the entire energy shifts? When their presence alone makes your stomach tighten and your jaw clench? We've all encountered them. The energy vampires, the drama magnets, the people who seem to thrive on chaos and somehow always make everything about themselves. But here's what I've discovered after studying highly successful and emotionally intelligent people for over a decade. They don't just survive these encounters, they master them. Welcome back to And Today, we're diving deep into the 15 specific strategies that intelligent people use to not just deal with difficult and toxic individuals, but to actually use these encounters to become stronger, wiser, and more successful. This isn't about avoiding conflict or becoming a doormat. This is about developing the psychological toolkit that allows you to navigate any social or professional situation with confidence and grace. Before we begin, I want you to think of that one person in your life right now who consistently drains your energy or creates unnecessary drama. Got them in mind? Good. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete playbook for handling them and anyone like them. If you find value in this content, please hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology-based life strategies. Now, let's transform how you handle difficult people forever. Strategy 1. The gray rock method. The first strategy intelligent people use might surprise you. It's called the gray rock method, and it's based on a simple principle. Become so uninteresting that toxic people lose interest in you? Here's how it works. When dealing with someone who thrives on drama and emotional reactions, you become as boring and unresponsive as a gray rock. Example scenario: toxic person. I can't believe you got that promotion instead of me. Management clearly plays favorites around here. Emotional response: that's not true. I worked incredibly hard for this position. You have no idea what you're talking about. Gray rock response: Notice the difference? The emotional response feeds the drama. The gray rock response starves it. Key elements of the gray rock method: minimal verbal responses, neutral body language, no sharing of personal information, avoiding eye contact when possible, giving one-word answers when necessary. This strategy works because toxic people are often seeking emotional supply, your anger, frustration, or distress. When you refuse to provide it, they typically move on to easier targets. When to use: with narcissists, drama seekers, energy vampires, or anyone who seems to feed off emotional reactions. Success story: Sarah, a marketing director, used this method with a chronically negative coworker who constantly complained and tried to drag others into office politics. Within 3 weeks of implementing gray rock, the coworker stopped approaching her with gossip and complaints entirely. Strategy 2. Strategic emotional intelligence. While others react emotionally to difficult people, intelligent individuals deploy what I call strategic emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and strategically respond to the emotions driving toxic behavior. The 4 components. 1. Emotional recognition. Before reacting, ask yourself, what emotion is driving their behavior? Are they angry, scared, insecure, or seeking attention? What need are they trying to meet through this interaction? 2. Emotional understanding. Most toxic behavior stems from deep insecurity, past trauma or hurt, fear of abandonment or rejection, need for control or validation. 3. Strategic response. Instead of reacting to the behavior, respond to the underlying emotion. Example: difficult person. You think you're so much better than everyone else. Reactive response: I do not. How dare you say that? Strategic EI response: it sounds like you're feeling left out or undervalued. That must be frustrating. 4. Boundary maintenance. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean accepting poor treatment. It means understanding the why while still maintaining your standards. Practical exercise. Next time someone displays difficult behavior, pause and ask, what are they really feeling right now? What do they need that they're not getting? How can I respond to their need without compromising my boundaries? This approach often diffuses situations that would otherwise escalate. Strategy 3. The information diet. Intelligent people understand that information is power, and they're very strategic about what information they share with difficult people. The 3 levels of information sharing. Level 1, surface information. Weather, general news, basic pleasantries, safe for everyone, including toxic individuals. Level 2, personal information. Your plans, opinions, work projects, only for trusted individuals. Level 3, intimate information. Your fears, dreams, vulnerabilities, relationship details, reserved for your closest circle. Example scenario: toxic coworker. So, how are things going with your boyfriend? Any wedding bells in the future? Oversharing response. Actually, we've been having some problems lately. He's been distant, and I'm not sure where the relationship is heading. Information diet response. Things are fine. How's your weekend looking? Why this works. Reduces ammunition. Toxic. People often use your personal information against you later. Decreases drama. Less information. Means fewer opportunities for gossip or manipulation. Maintains mystery. People respect what they can't fully access. Preserves energy. You're not explaining or defending personal choices. The bean dipping technique. When pressed for information you don't want to share. That's nice. How interesting. I'll have to think about that. Red flags, people who demand information. Excessive curiosity about your personal life. Pushing when you deflect questions. Using information you've shared against you. Gossiping about mutual acquaintances. Remember, healthy people respect boundaries around information sharing. Toxic people often push against them. Strategy 4. Tactical agreements. Here's a counterintuitive strategy that intelligent people master. They agree with difficult people, strategically. This isn't about being fake or compromising your values. It's about using agreement as a tool to diffuse conflict and redirect energy. The 3 types of tactical agreements. 1. Agreeing with possibility. Difficult person. You never listen to anyone. Tactical agreement. You might be right about that. I could probably work on my listening skills. 2. Agreeing with emotion. Difficult person. This whole situation is completely unfair. Tactical agreement. I can see why you'd feel that way. It does seem frustrating from your perspective. 3. Agreeing with part of the truth. Difficult person. You're always late to everything. Tactical agreement. You're right that I was late today. I should have managed my time better. Why this works. 1. Removes resistance. When you don't fight, there's nothing to fight against. 2. Validates without accepting abuse. You acknowledge their perspective without accepting poor treatment. 3. Shifts. Power dynamics. Unexpected agreement often catches people off guard. 4. Creates space for solutions. Agreement opens dialogue rather than closing it. Important boundaries. Never tactically agree with abusive statements about your character, false accusations of serious misconduct, anything that compromises your core values, statements that could have legal implications. Real-world application. Marcus, a project manager, used tactical agreement with a chronically critical team member. Instead of defending every decision, he started saying, "That's a valid concern. Let's look at how we can address it." The team member's criticism became constructive feedback, and their working relationship improved dramatically. Practice exercise. This week, try tactical agreement once per day. Start with low-stakes situations like a family member complaining about weather, a friend criticizing a movie you enjoyed, a coworker expressing frustration about procedures. Notice how the energy of the conversation shifts when you agree instead of arguing. Strategy 5, the strategic timeout. Just like in sports, intelligent people know when to call a strategic timeout during difficult interactions. This isn't about running away from conflict. It's about creating space for better outcomes. The strategic timeout formula. Step 1, recognize the signs. Your heart rate increasing. feeling the urge to say something you'll regret. The other person becoming increasingly agitated. The conversation going in circles. Personal attacks beginning to surface. Step 2. The professional pause. For work situations, I want to give this the attention it deserves. Can we schedule time to discuss this properly? For personal relationships, this is important to me. I need a few minutes to think so I can respond thoughtfully. For family dynamics, I care about resolving this. Let me take a break, and we can continue this conversation in an hour. Step 3, use the time wisely. During your timeout, take deep breaths and center yourself. Consider the other person's perspective. Identify your core concerns. Plan your key points. Decide on your boundaries. Case study. Jennifer, a sales director, was in a heated discussion with her boss about territory assignments. She felt her anger rising and said, "This is clearly important to both of us. Can I have until tomorrow morning to review the data and come back with a thoughtful response?" The next day, she returned with a well-researched proposal that addressed both their concerns. Her boss later commented that her professionalism during the conflict impressed him more than any other interaction they'd had. The psychology behind it. When emotions run high, our prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, goes offline. The timeout allows this system to come back online, leading to better decision-making. Common mistakes to avoid. Using the timeout as punishment. Never returning to address the issue. Taking so long that the other person feels dismissed. Using timeout to avoid necessary conversations. Advanced technique, the preemptive timeout. When you know you'll be entering a potentially difficult conversation, set the expectation up front. I want to discuss the budget concerns you raised. If either of us gets heated, let's agree to take a 15-minute break and come back to it. This frames the timeout as a collaborative tool rather than a defensive retreat. Strategy 6. Emotional Aikido. In Aikido, instead of meeting force with force, you redirect your opponent's energy. Intelligent people apply this same principle to difficult conversations. The 4 principles of emotional Aikido. 1. Don't resist the energy. Resistance. No, I'm not. You're the one being unreasonable. Redirection. Help me understand what seems unreasonable to you. 2. Find the truth in their position. Even in the most toxic communication, there's often a grain of valid concern buried underneath the poor delivery. Example. Difficult person. You never appreciate anything I do around here. Redirection. You're right that I haven't been acknowledging your contributions lately. What specific things would you like me to recognize? 3. Use their energy to move forward. Instead of stopping their emotional energy, channel it toward solutions. Toxic complaint. This whole project is a disaster. Emotional Aikido. I can see you're really concerned about the project's success. What specific areas do you think need the most attention right now? 4. Maintain your center. No matter how much energy they're throwing at you, you remain calm, centered, and focused on constructive outcomes. Advanced technique, the emotional mirror. Sometimes, simply reflecting back what you observe can redirect the energy. It sounds like you're feeling really frustrated right now. I can see this situation is causing you stress. You seem disappointed about how this turned out. Real-world success story. David, a customer service manager, used emotional Aikido with an irate client who was screaming about a billing error. Instead of defending company policy, he said, "I can hear how frustrated you are about this billing situation. That would upset me too. Let's see what options we have to make this right." The client immediately calmed down and they resolved the issue in 5 minutes. Practice scenarios. The chronic complainer. Use their complaint energy to brainstorm solutions. The aggressive critic. Redirect their critical energy towards specific improvements. The drama creator channel. Their emotional energy toward understanding and resolution. Remember, the goal isn't to change the difficult person, it's to prevent their difficult energy from derailing your goals and well-being. Strategy 7. The strategic alliance. Intelligent people rarely handle difficult individuals alone. They build strategic alliances, networks of support that help them navigate challenging relationships more effectively. The 3 types of strategic allies. 1. The witness. These are people who can observe interactions and provide objective feedback. Example: before a difficult meeting with a problematic team member, intelligent people might say to a trusted colleague, "I'm meeting with Sarah about the project delays. Would you mind sitting in? I'd value your perspective on the conversation." Benefits: keeps interactions professional, provides accountability for all parties, offers neutral perspective, creates documentation of patterns. 2. The advisor. These are people with experience handling similar personalities who can provide strategic guidance. Case study: Maria was struggling with a manipulative boss who would make promises in private, then deny them later. She sought advice from a senior colleague who had worked with this boss for years. The advisor taught her to follow up all verbal agreements with email confirmations. As we discussed in today's meeting, I'll proceed with option A by Friday. Please let me know if you'd like any adjustments to this plan. Free the buffer. These are people who can help minimize your direct exposure to toxic individuals when necessary. Examples: a colleague who can handle communications with a difficult client, a family member who can interact with a toxic relative at events, a supervisor who can intervene in workplace conflicts. Building your alliance network. Step 1. Identify your needs. What types of difficult people do you encounter regularly? What support would be most helpful? Who in your network has successfully handled similar challenges? Step 2. Cultivate relationships proactively. Don't wait until you're in crisis mode. Build supportive relationships when things are calm. Offer help to others facing difficulties. Share resources and insights. Be genuinely interested in others' challenges. Express appreciation for support you receive. Step 3. Make strategic requests. When you need support, be specific. I'm having challenges with. Have you encountered anything similar? Would you be willing to review this email before I send it? Could you help me practice how to respond to specific scenario? Important ethics. Strategic alliances are not about gossiping or character assassination, ganging up on difficult people, creating workplace drama, manipulating situations unfairly. They are about getting objective perspective, learning effective strategies, maintaining professionalism, protecting your well-being, success metrics. You'll know your strategic alliance is working when you feel more confident in difficult interactions. You have multiple perspectives on challenging situations. You're learning new strategies regularly. Your stress levels decrease when facing difficult people. Strategy 8. Controlled vulnerability. This might be the most counterintuitive strategy yet. Intelligent people sometimes choose to be vulnerable with difficult people, but in a very controlled, strategic way. This isn't about oversharing or making yourself a target. It's about using controlled vulnerability as a tool to diffuse aggression and create connection. The Strategic Vulnerability Framework. Level 1. Shared universal experiences. Share experiences that virtually everyone can relate to. Example: difficult person. You have no idea what it's like to be under this kind of pressure. Strategic vulnerability. You're right. I haven't been in your exact situation. I remember a time when I felt completely overwhelmed at work, though. That feeling of everything being on your shoulders is really tough. Level 2. Professional challenges. Share work-related struggles that show you're human without compromising your competence. Example: I've definitely struggled with balancing multiple priorities, too. It's one of the hardest parts of this role. Level 3. Growth-oriented admissions. Acknowledge areas where you're working to improve. Example: communication is something I'm always working on. I don't always get it right the first time. Why this works. 1. Disarms aggression. When someone is preparing to attack and you show controlled vulnerability, it often stops them in their tracks. They expected defensiveness, not openness. 2. Creates human connection. Even difficult people respond to genuine human moments. Controlled vulnerability can remind them that you're both human. 3. Models healthy behavior. Your vulnerability often gives others permission to drop their defensive walls, too. Boundaries and safety. Never use strategic vulnerability with people who have previously used your openness against you. Individuals with a history of emotional or psychological abuse. Anyone in situations where your admissions could have professional consequences, people who consistently show no empathy or reciprocity. Real-world application. Tom was dealing with an angry client who felt the company had let him down. Instead of defending company policies, Tom said, "I can see how frustrated you are. And honestly, if I were in your position, I'd probably feel the same way. I've been let down by companies before, and it's really disappointing." This simple acknowledgement shifted the entire conversation from adversarial to collaborative. The vulnerability test. Before sharing, ask yourself, is this relevant to the current situation? Could this person use this information to harm me? Am I sharing to connect or to get sympathy? Do I have a specific positive outcome in mind? If you can't answer these questions positively, save your vulnerability for safer relationships. Practice exercise. This week, try one instance of Level 1 Strategic. Vulnerability with someone who's been difficult. Share a universal experience that relates to their frustration. Notice how it changes the dynamic of your interaction. Strategy 9. The pattern interrupt. Difficult people often operate on predictable patterns. They expect certain responses and have prepared counterattacks. Intelligent people break these patterns with unexpected responses. Common toxic patterns. Pattern 1. The blame game. Expected pattern. Toxic person attacks, you defend, they attack harder, you defend more, escalation. Pattern interrupt. Toxic person attacks, you respond unexpectedly, they recalibrate, new dynamic. Example, toxic person. You always mess things up. This is exactly what I expected from you. Expected response. That's not true. I work really hard and you never acknowledge anything I do, right? Pattern interrupt. You know what? You're absolutely right. I did mess this up. What would you do differently in my position? Pattern 2. The drama escalation. Expected pattern. They create drama. You react emotionally. They feed off your reaction. More drama. Pattern interrupt examples. Responding with curiosity instead of defense. Asking clarifying questions instead of arguing, expressing genuine concern for their well-being, completely changing the subject to something positive. Pattern 3. The power struggle. Expected pattern. They challenge your authority, you assert. Authority, they challenge more. Power battle. Pattern interrupt. Instead of fighting for power, you give them a different kind of power. Example. Difficult person. Nobody ever listens to my ideas around here. Expected response. That's not true. We listened to your idea about the website just last week. Pattern interrupt. That must be really frustrating. What's the most important idea you have that you feel hasn't been heard? I'd like to understand it better. Advanced pattern interrupts. 1. The compliment interrupt. When they expect criticism or defensiveness, offer a genuine compliment. You know, one thing I really respect about you is how passionate you are about quality. 2. The assumption challenge. When they make assumptions about your motivations, that's interesting. Help me understand what made you think that was my intention. 3. The future focus. When they're stuck in past grievances. I hear that you're upset about what happened. What would need to change for you to feel good about moving forward? Why pattern interrupts work. 1. Cognitive surprise. The unexpected response forces their brain to process new information instead of running on autopilot. 2. Emotional de-escalation. When you don't match their emotional intensity, it often naturally decreases. 3. Relationship reset. Pattern interrupts can shift the entire dynamic of a relationship by establishing new interaction norms. Case study. Linda worked with a colleague who would regularly storm into her office with complaints and accusations. The pattern was always the same. Complaint, defense, escalation, uncomfortable ending. One day, when he started his usual routine, Linda said, "Wow, you seem really stressed about this. Are you okay? Is there something bigger going on?" He was so surprised by her concern that he actually opened up about personal issues affecting his work. Their relationship completely transformed from that point. Practice guidelines. Start with low-stakes situations. Have a safety plan for more serious conflicts. Don't use pattern interrupts to avoid addressing legitimate concerns. Be genuinely curious, not manipulative. Strategy 10. Strategic documentation. Intelligent people understand that when dealing with difficult personalities, especially in professional settings, documentation isn't just helpful, it's essential protection. This isn't about building a case against someone. It's about protecting yourself and maintaining clarity about what actually happened versus what someone claims happened. The 3 types of strategic documentation. Type 1. Interaction records. What to document. Date and time of interaction. Who was present. Key topics discussed. Agreements made. Action items assigned. Tone and behavior patterns. Example format. March 15, 2024, 2:30 p.m. Meeting with John about project timeline. Present. John, Sarah, witness. Discussion. John agreed to revise deadline of March 30th. John became agitated when discussing budget constraints. Agreed action. John will provide cost breakdown by March 18th. Type 2. Email confirmations. After verbal conversations with difficult people, intelligent individuals send confirmation emails. Example. Hi, John. Thanks for taking time to discuss the project timeline today. As we agreed, the new deadline will be March 30th, and you'll provide the cost breakdown by March 18th. Please let me know if I've missed anything or if you'd like to modify any of these points. Benefits. Creates written record of agreements. Reduces I never said that situations. Shows professionalism. Provides clarity for all parties. Type 3. Pattern documentation. When dealing with chronically difficult people, document patterns over time. What to track. Frequency of problematic behaviors. Triggers that seem to set them off. Successful strategies you've used. Impact on team, project, relationships. Witnesses to interactions. Legal and ethical considerations. Do. Document factual observations. Focus on behaviors, not character judgments. Keep records private and secure. Follow company policies on documentation. Use documentation to improve strategies. Don't. Share documentation as gossip. Make unfounded psychological assessments. Violate privacy laws or company policies. Use documentation to punish or embarrass others. Exaggerate or embellish facts. Digital tools for documentation. Private digital notebooks, password protected. Secure cloud storage with restricted access. Professional email folders for confirmations. Calendar entries with meeting notes. Voice memos for immediate post-interaction thoughts. Case study. Rachel worked with a supervisor who would frequently change project requirements verbally, then blame team members when deliverables didn't match his new expectations. Rachel started sending confirmation emails after every conversation. Based on our discussion, I understand you'd like me to change the report format to include quarterly comparisons instead of monthly. I'll have this revision completed by Friday. Please confirm if this matches your request. Within a month, her supervisor stopped making arbitrary changes because he realized everything was being documented. The project ran more smoothly, and Rachel felt much more confident in her interactions. The protection principle. Strategic documentation protects you by providing factual records when memories differ, showing patterns of behavior to supervisors if needed, demonstrating your professionalism and thoroughness, reducing anxiety about he said, she said situations, creating accountability for all parties involved. Quick Start Guide. Starting this week, choose your documentation method, digital notebook, etc. Begin documenting just one difficult relationship. Send one confirmation email after a verbal agreement. Review your documentation weekly to identify patterns. Adjust your strategies based on what you observe. Remember, the goal is protection and improvement, not punishment or revenge. Strategy. 11. The energy economy. Perhaps the most important realization intelligent people make about difficult relationships is this: your energy is finite and precious. They become masters of what I call the energy economy, understanding your energy budget. Just like financial budgeting, Intelligent people budget their emotional and mental energy. High-value energy investments. Relationships that are mutual and supportive. Projects that align with your goals. Activities that energize and fulfill you. Learning and growth opportunities. Self-care and restoration. Low-value energy drains. Arguing with people who aren't open to change. Trying to convince toxic people to like you. Engaging in drama that doesn't serve a purpose. Defending yourself against baseless accusations. Taking responsibility for others' emotions. The energy investment matrix. High impact, low energy, focus here. Setting clear boundaries. Strategic communication. Professional responses. High impact, high energy, use sparingly. Crucial, difficult conversations. Major confrontations when necessary. Standing up for important principles. Low impact, low energy. Acceptable occasionally. Gray rock responses. Minimal engagement. Polite deflection. Low impact, high energy. Avoid completely. Emotional arguments with toxic people. Trying to change someone's fundamental character. Taking personal responsibility for their behavior. Practical energy management. 1. The daily energy check-in. Each morning, assess your energy level on a scale of 1-10. Plan your difficult interactions accordingly. High energy days, handle challenging conversations. Medium energy days, maintain boundaries, avoid new conflicts. Low energy days, use Gray Rock method, minimal engagement. 2. Energy recovery planning. After dealing with difficult people, intelligent individuals have specific recovery rituals. 10-minute walk outside, listening to favorite music, brief meditation or breathing exercises, connecting with a supportive friend, engaging in a fulfilling activity. 3. The energy audit. Weekly review questions. Which relationships energized me this week? Which interactions drained me unnecessarily? What energy could I have saved with better boundaries? How can I protect my energy better next week? Case study. Michael realized he was spending 60% of his emotional energy on one toxic coworker who complained constantly but never took suggestions. He implemented an energy budget. He would listen to this coworker for exactly 5 minutes per day, then redirect to other tasks. The coworker initially complained about Michael being unsupportive, but eventually found other outlets for his negativity. Michael's job satisfaction increased dramatically. The energy protection strategies. 1. Time boundaries. I have 10 minutes to discuss this before my next meeting. 2. Topic boundaries. I'm willing to discuss the project timeline, but I won't debate my personal choices. 3. Emotional boundaries. I understand you're upset, but I need you to speak to me respectfully. 4. Frequency boundaries. Let's plan to check in on this topic once per week, rather than multiple times daily. The compound effect. When you consistently protect your energy, something remarkable happens. You have more energy available for positive relationships and meaningful work. This creates an upward spiral where your life becomes increasingly fulfilling, making it even easier to maintain boundaries with difficult people. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential for being able to show up fully for the people and purposes that matter most. Strategy 12. Advanced boundary architecture. Most people think of boundaries as walls, but intelligent people build what I call boundary architecture. Sophisticated systems that allow positive interactions while filtering out toxicity. The 4 layers of boundary architecture. Layer 1. The outer perimeter. General social boundaries. These are your basic social interaction rules. How you respond to casual negativity. What topics you'll discuss with acquaintances. How much personal information you share publicly. Your general availability for social requests. Example structures. I don't discuss politics at work. I check messages once per hour during work days. I keep my weekend plans private. Layer 2. The professional firewall. Work boundaries. These protect you in professional settings. Communication methods and timing. Project responsibility limits. Meeting participation rules. Conflict escalation procedures. Example structures. All project changes must be requested via email with 48-hour notice. I'm available for urgent calls between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. I will address professional concerns directly with the person involved before discussing with others. Layer 3, the relationship filter, personal boundaries. These govern closer personal relationships, emotional support expectations, time and availability limits, reciprocity requirements, respect and treatment standards. Example structures. I'm happy to listen and support, but I need our conversations to be two-way. I won't accept yelling or name-calling in our discussions. Plans made together are commitments I expect us both to honor. Layer 4, the inner sanctuary, core self-protection. These protect your deepest values and well-being. Non-negotiable personal values, mental and physical health priorities, core identity and self-worth protection, fundamental respect requirements. Example structures. I will not compromise my integrity for anyone's approval. My self-care time is not available for negotiation. I will not accept treatment that undermines my basic dignity. Boundary communication framework. The desk method. Describe. State the specific behavior objectively. Express, share your feeling about the impact. Specify. Request the specific change you need. Consequences. Explain what will happen if the boundary isn't respected. Example. When you interrupt me during meetings, describe. I feel disrespected and it prevents me from contributing effectively. Express. I need you to let me finish my thoughts before responding. Specify. If this continues, I'll need to discuss this with our supervisor. Consequences. Boundary maintenance strategies. 1. The broken record technique. Calmly repeat your boundary without elaboration. As I mentioned, I'm not available for weekend work calls. Like I said, I prefer to keep our conversations professional. I've already explained that I need 24-hour notice for schedule changes. 2. The information diet review. Regularly audit what information you share with different people and adjust based on how that information has been used. 3. Boundary testing recognition. Difficult people often test boundaries by starting with small violations to see your response, using guilt or manipulation when you enforce boundaries, claiming they forgot or didn't understand your limits, escalating their behavior when boundaries are maintained. Case study. Amanda, a consultant, worked with a client who constantly called her cell phone with non-urgent questions outside business hours. She implemented a boundary architecture system. Layer 1. Professional communication happens via email during business hours. Layer 2. Phone calls require scheduling except for true emergencies. Layer 3. Emergencies are defined as situations requiring immediate action to prevent significant business loss. Layer 4. Her personal time and family commitments are non-negotiable. When the client tested these boundaries, Amanda used the desk method and maintained consistency. Within 2 weeks, the client adapted to the new structure and they're working. Relationship actually improved because expectations were clear. Boundary evolution. Your boundary architecture should evolve as you gain experience and self-awareness. Regular reviews. Monthly assessment of boundary effectiveness. Adjustment based on results. Tighten boundaries that are frequently violated. Expansion for growth. Relax boundaries with people who consistently respect them. Situational modifications. Adapt boundaries for different contexts, while maintaining core principles. Strategy 13. The Aikido of communication. Building on our earlier emotional Aikido concept, intelligent people master what I call communication Aikido, the art of redirecting aggressive or toxic communication without becoming aggressive themselves. The 5 communication Aikido techniques. 1. The redirect. Instead of meeting accusation with counter-accusation, redirect to solutions or understanding. Toxic statement. You never take responsibility for anything. Aikido response. Help me understand which specific situation you're referring to so I can address it properly. 2. The reframe. Take their statement and present it in a more constructive framework. Take their statement and present it in a more constructive framework. Toxic statement. This whole project is falling apart because of your mistakes. Aikido response. It sounds like you're concerned about the project's success. Let's identify the specific issues and create a plan to address them. 3. The refocus. Shift attention from problems to possibilities, from past to future, from blame to solutions. Toxic statement. You always make these stupid decisions. Aikido response. What factors do you think we should consider for better decision-making going forward? 4. The reflect. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply reflecting back what you observe without judgment. Toxic statement. Nobody around here cares about quality anymore. Aikido response. I can hear that maintaining quality. Standards is really important to you. 5. The rise above. Acknowledge the content while addressing the communication style. Toxic statement. You're being completely unreasonable and stubborn. Aikido response. I want to understand your concerns. Can we approach this conversation in a way where we're both heard? Advanced techniques. The meta-communication. Sometimes you need to address how you're communicating, not just what you're communicating about. Example. I notice our conversation is getting heated. I care about resolving this issue and maintaining our working relationship. Can we take a step back and approach this differently? The emotional validation bridge. Validate their emotion while redirecting the expression. Toxic. I'm sick and tired of being ignored around here. Aikido. Being ignored would be really frustrating. Let's talk about specific ways to make sure your input is heard and valued. The assumption check. When they make negative assumptions about your motives. Toxic. You're obviously trying to make me look bad. Aikido. That's definitely not my intention. What did I do that gave you that impression? I'd like to understand and correct it. Communication Aikido in action. A scenario, the workplace conflict. Difficult colleague. Your presentation was terrible and made our whole department look incompetent. Traditional response. My presentation was fine. If you had given me the data I requested, it would have been even better. Communication Aikido. I can see you're concerned about how our department was represented. What specific aspects of the presentation do you think we could improve for future presentations? The psychology behind it. 1. Disrupts attack patterns. When you don't respond defensively, their aggressive energy has nowhere to go and often dissipates naturally. 2. Models better communication. Your mature response often elevates the conversation and encourages them to match your communication level. 3. Maintains your dignity. You remain professional and solution-focused regardless of their behavior. 4. Creates learning opportunities. Even difficult conversations become chances to understand different perspectives and improve relationships. Practice guidelines. Start small. Begin practicing communication Aikido in low-stakes situations before applying it to major conflicts. Stay authentic. These techniques work best when they come from genuine curiosity and desire for resolution, not manipulation. Know your limits. Some people are so toxic that even communication Aikido won't work. Know when to disengage completely. Strategy 14, the strategic exit. Sometimes the most intelligent response to a toxic person is a strategic exit. This isn't about giving up or running away, it's about making calculated decisions to protect your well-being and redirect your energy toward more productive relationships. When to consider a strategic exit. Red flag indicators. Escalating toxicity. Their behavior is getting worse despite your best efforts. Health impact. You're experiencing physical symptoms. Headaches, sleep issues, anxiety related to the relationship. Repeated boundary violations. They consistently ignore or deliberately violate your clearly stated boundaries. Professional sabotage. They're actively undermining your work or reputation. No reciprocity. All effort to improve the relationship comes from you. Abusive behavior. any form of emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse. The Strategic Exit Framework. Phase 1. Assessment and Planning. Before making any moves, intelligent people carefully assess. Relationship analysis. Is this relationship necessary for your goals? What are the costs versus benefits of maintaining it? Have you exhausted reasonable strategies for improvement? What are the consequences of staying versus leaving? Exit strategy development. What's your timeline for departure? What preparation is needed? Who might be affected by your exit? How will you handle the transition? Phase 2. Gradual disengagement. Rather than dramatic exits, intelligent people often use gradual disengagement. Professional relationships. Reduce voluntary interactions. Communicate primarily in writing. Include others in meetings when possible. Transfer shared responsibilities when feasible. Build relationships with others in the organization. Personal relationships. Decrease frequency of contact. Limit shared activities. Reduce emotional investment. Build stronger connections elsewhere. Prepare for potential confrontation about the change. Phase 3. The clean break. When gradual disengagement isn't sufficient, professional clean breaks. Request team or project transfers. Seek mediation through HR. Document patterns of problematic behavior. Consider role changes or new employment. Maintain professionalism throughout the process. Personal clean breaks. Have a clear, honest conversation about ending the relationship. Block on social media and communication platforms. Prepare responses for mutual friends who ask questions. Focus on your well-being, not explaining your decision to everyone. Case studies. Case study 1, the toxic boss. James worked for a supervisor who regularly humiliated team members, took credit for others' work, and created a hostile work environment. After documenting the behavior and trying multiple strategies over 6 months, James developed a strategic exit plan, built relationships with other departments, documented all problematic interactions, applied for internal transfers, prepared financially for potential job change, secured references from other managers, successfully transferred to another department. The result? James's career flourished in his new role, and the toxic boss was eventually terminated due to pattern complaints from multiple employees. Case study 2, the energy vampire friend. Lisa had a longtime friend who constantly demanded emotional support, but never offered any in return. Every conversation became about the friend's problems, and Lisa felt drained after every interaction. Her strategic exit. 1, gradually reduced availability for crisis calls. 2, set specific times for friendship interactions. 3, suggested the friend seek professional counseling. 4, built stronger relationships with more balanced friends. 5, eventually had an honest conversation about the one-sided nature of their friendship. 6, maintained cordial but distant contact. The emotional intelligence of strategic exits. Self-compassion. Recognize that choosing to exit toxic relationships is an act of self-care, not selfishness, accepting reality. Some people won't change no matter how much effort you invest. Accepting this reality is mature, not defeatist. Protecting your future. The energy you save by exiting toxic relationships can be invested in positive ones. Handling the aftermath. Guilt management. Remember, you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. Focus on the positive changes in your life post-exit. Seek support from trusted friends or professionals if needed. Mutual connection management. Be prepared for questions from mutual friends or colleagues. Keep explanations brief and factual. Don't expect everyone to understand your decision. Maintain your other relationships regardless of others' reactions. The strategic re-entry. In rare cases, people genuinely change. If someone demonstrates consistent, long-term behavioral change, you might consider limited re-engagement, but with strong boundaries and careful observation. Strategy 15, mastery through service. The final strategy might surprise you. The most intelligent people dealing with difficult personalities eventually realize that their experiences can become a source of strength and service to others. This isn't about becoming a martyr or accepting abuse. It's about finding meaning and purpose in your difficult experiences by using them to help others navigate similar challenges. The 3 levels of mastery through service. Level 1, personal mastery. First, you master your own responses and develop genuine confidence in handling difficult people. Signs of personal mastery. You remain calm during difficult interactions. You have effective strategies for various toxic personality types. You maintain your boundaries consistently. You don't take others' behavior personally. You can help without losing yourself in others' problems. Level 2, protective leadership. Once you've mastered your own responses, you naturally become a resource for others facing similar challenges. In the workplace, mentoring newer employees on handling difficult personalities, sharing strategies during team meetings, offering to witness difficult conversations for colleagues, advocating for better conflict resolution processes. In personal life, supporting friends through toxic relationship challenges, sharing resources and strategies that have worked for you, modeling healthy boundary setting for others, teaching family members effective communication techniques. Level 3, systemic impact. At the highest level, your experience with difficult people becomes a force for positive change in larger systems. Examples of systemic impact: leading workplace culture improvement initiatives, training others in conflict resolution skills, writing or speaking about healthy relationship dynamics, advocating for policies that protect against toxic behavior, creating resources or programs for others facing similar challenges. The transformation process, from reactive to responsive. Stage 1, reactive. You're controlled by difficult people's behavior. Stage 2, protective. You develop defenses against toxic behavior. Stage 3, strategic. You proactively manage difficult relationships. Stage 4, masterful. You help others develop these same skills. Stage 5, transcendent. You create positive change in systems and communities. Real-world examples. Corporate culture change. Maria started as an individual contributor struggling with a toxic team environment. After mastering the strategies we've discussed, she was promoted to management. She then implemented team communication protocols, conflict resolution processes, and leadership training that transformed the entire department culture. Turnover decreased by 60%, and employee satisfaction scores increased dramatically. Community mental health advocacy. After surviving a psychologically abusive relationship, Jennifer used her experience to volunteer with domestic violence organizations. She developed workshops on recognizing emotional manipulation and building healthy boundaries. Her work has helped hundreds of people recognize and exit toxic relationships. The service mindset. Key principles: your pain has purpose. Difficult experiences can become sources of wisdom and compassion. Experience creates authority. You can speak authentically about challenges you've overcome. Service heals. Helping others often completes your own healing process. Ripple effects. Teaching one person these skills affects everyone they encounter. Prevention. Focus, helping others develop these skills. Early prevents years of unnecessary suffering. Getting started with service. Identify your expertise. Which types of difficult people have you learned to handle well? What strategies have been most effective for you? What do friends and colleagues already ask your advice about? What would you want someone to have taught you earlier in your journey? Informal mentoring. Be available when others ask for advice. Formal mentoring. Actively seek opportunities to guide others. Training and speaking. Share your knowledge in structured settings. Writing and content creation. Document your strategies for broader impact. Organizational leadership. Drive systemic change in your workplace or community. The mastery paradox. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more you focus on helping others handle difficult people effectively, the less difficult people tend to affect you personally. Service creates a sense of purpose and perspective that makes you naturally more resilient and confident. When you shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "How can I use this experience to help others?" You transform from victim to victor to valuable resource for your community. Conclusion and call to action. We've covered 15 powerful strategies that intelligent people use to deal with difficult and toxic individuals. The Gray Rock Method. Strategic emotional intelligence. The information diet. Tactical agreements. The strategic timeout. Emotional aikido. The strategic alliance. Controlled vulnerability. The pattern interrupt. Strategic documentation. The energy economy. Advanced boundary architecture. The aikido of communication. The strategic exit. Mastery through service. The integration challenge. Remember, you don't need to master all 15 strategies immediately. Start with the ones that resonate most with your current challenges. Choose your service level. If you're new to this journey, start with Gray Rock Method and Information Diet. If you're ready for more advanced techniques, try emotional, aikido, and strategic alliances. If you're dealing with persistent toxicity, focus on strategic documentation and boundary architecture. If you're ready to help others, begin with mastery through service. Your next steps. Choose 2 or 3 strategies to focus on this week. Practice in low-stakes situations first. Document what works for your specific challenges. Gradually apply to more difficult relationships. Share your successes with others who might benefit. The ripple effect. When you master these strategies, you're not just improving your own life. You're modeling healthy behavior for others, creating more positive environments wherever you go, breaking cycles of toxicity that might affect future generations, contributing to a culture of respect and emotional intelligence. Community engagement. I want to hear about your experiences with these strategies. Comment below with which strategy you're most excited to try. Share your success stories using intelligent boundaries. Ask questions about specific situations you're facing. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more psychology-based life strategies. The deeper truth. Ultimately, learning to deal with difficult people isn't just about them. It's about becoming the person you want to be regardless of how others behave. It's about developing unshakable inner strength, wisdom, and compassion. When you no longer need others to be different for you to be okay, you've achieved true emotional freedom. And that freedom allows you to engage with all people, even difficult ones, from a place of choice rather than reactivity. Final thought. The goal isn't to become invulnerable or emotionless. It's to become so emotionally intelligent and strategically skilled that difficult people become opportunities for growth rather than sources of suffering. You have more power in these situations than you realize. These 15 strategies give you the tools to reclaim that power and use it wisely. Thank you for joining me on this journey toward greater emotional intelligence and interpersonal mastery. Remember, every difficult person you encounter is a chance to practice these skills and become stronger. Until next time, stay intelligent, stay strategic, and remember, you've got this.